everyone! Today I am going to be sharing with you my TBR for October/Spooktober, which is a month-long readathon slash just spooky bookish event that happens throughout the month of October, and I'm actually co-hosting it this year, so if you want to learn more about it and maybe participate in it, then I will leave a link to my announcement video up in the eye in the corner. I don't know when this video is going up because I'm pre-filming it in September, but I think this is going up at like the beginning of October, so even though Spooktober has already started, it's not too late to join in, so do check out that video if you want to learn more about it. But yeah, I thought I would share with you my TBR. There are 20 reading challenges for Spooktober, so I picked out 2 books specifically that fit a bunch of challenges. I think they complete over half of the challenges, and then I picked out just a bunch of other books that I already wanted to read in October, and if they complete challenges, cool. If they don't, also cool, because I wanted to read these books in October anyway. I did give myself a bit of a variety in the books that I'm reading. I think I picked out 8 books, but one of them is over 1,000 pages, so the likelihood of me getting to all of these books is very slim, but I did want to give myself like some options, so I've got books in lots of different genres just depending on what I feel like reading when the time comes. So let's just start with the biggest book on my TBR, and that is It by Stephen King. I am pretty sure this is the biggest book I will ever have read. It's over 1,100 pages. Over 1,150 pages, actually, and I'd give you a synopsis, but I'm pretty sure most people know what this book is about. So this completes quite a few challenges. I'm going to read them off of my computer. So it completes the challenge of Scary Costume, which is to read a horror, obviously. It also completes the challenge Mrs. Lovett's Meat Pies, which is to read a book with a character you think will be unlikable. So there are lots of characters in this book I know, so I'm sure at least one of them I'll hate. So I think this will be able to work for this challenge. Then Monster Mash, a book with a monster. I'm pretty sure you would consider Pennywise to be a monster. Then Time Warp, a book set in a different time, which this is going to sound so ignorant, but I believe this book is like set in the 70s or the 80s. I can't remember exactly, but it's not set in this time period, so I think it'll work for that challenge also. Carve Jack-o'-lanterns, which is to read a book with a face on the cover, so that's close enough to be a face on the cover. Then Bob for Apples, which is to sink your teeth into a tome. This is definitely a tome. And finally, Ouija Board, a book people warned you about. So there's one specific scene in this book that if you've read it, you know what it is, and you may have already heard about it even if you didn't read it. So I was definitely warned about that scene specifically, but then there's also another scene that I've only seen one specific booktuber talk about it, and the way that that scene was described by that person, I think that will probably affect me even more than the scene that everybody talks about, just because of my personal, like, triggers, I guess. So I've been warned quite a bit about this book, but hopefully I'll still really enjoy it, because I've read 3 other books by Stephen King and I've enjoyed all of them, and for some reason I always thought that his writing would be really dense, but from the books that I've read at least, it hasn't been. It's been like really easy to read, and I tend to fly through his books pretty quickly, so that I'm trying to just keep that in my mind so that this book isn't quite as daunting to me. Next book on my TBR, which is the only other one that I picked out specific challenges for, is Cersei by Madeline Miller. This is the story of the Greek goddess Cersei, which I'll be honest, I'm not super familiar with her story, so I can't really give you a synopsis on this book, but I read The Song of Achilles a couple months ago, and I absolutely adored that book. And it's funny because I didn't even really find myself being interested in that one. I was more interested in reading this book, and I decided to just pick that one up first, and so I loved it, so I'm hoping I will love this one even more. And once again, this completes quite a few challenges. The first one is Fantasy Costume, which is to read a fantasy book. Then I Put a Spell on You, read a book with magic in it. Time Warp, set in a different time. This is about mythology, so it's set way back when. The next challenge it completes is Superstition, which is to read a book based on folklore or mythology, so this is a perfect book for that challenge. Eyeball Soup, a cover you can't stop eyeballing for obvious reasons. And then, again, Carve Jack-o'-lanterns, read a book with a face on the cover. This one's probably a bit more of a face than the It cover. So now on to the rest of the books that I hope to read in October. I'm really not sure what Minnie Mouse is doing here in the background, but she's just going to be like leaning over all creepy and crouchy in the background. She's taking on the Halloween spirit with her like posture. So the next book I plan to pick up, I actually wanted to read it in September, but I didn't get around to it, and that is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I never read this book. I feel like everybody read this book in school except for me. Never read it, but I did watch Greta Gerwig's adaptation of it, and I absolutely loved it. So now I'm very excited to pick this up. I don't have the best history when it comes to classics just because of the writing, and generally, like, I am so shocked that I liked that movie because that is, like, the opposite of anything that I would ever want to watch. Like, that genre of whatever is not for me, but for some reason I loved it. So I'm hoping that I'll also love it in book form, but I'm a little bit nervous because I don't have the best reputation with these kinds of stories or classics. Next, we've got a couple of thrillers that I hope to read. The first one is The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. This one was pretty popular on BookTube a couple years ago, and I never got around to reading it despite having it on my shelf for a very long time. I don't really know what this book is about, but I think it's about a woman who looks through a window, but I'm just guessing. I could be completely wrong on that. And then the second one is Watching You by Lisa Jewell. I just read The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell a couple months ago, and I absolutely loved it, so now I want to read all of this author's works. And I actually rented this book from the library probably like 2 years ago, and I never ended up reading it, and I just returned it to the library. And then I found this at Barnes & Noble, like mega discounted. It was like $8, I think. So I'm pretty excited for this, and it's nice and short, and I hope I love it as much as I love The Family Upstairs. Then I've got one mystery book on my TBR, and that is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I believe this is a young adult mystery trilogy. I think maybe there's another book coming out, but I'm pretty sure it was originally supposed to be a trilogy. And I think it's set at like a school where a murder took place years ago, and now there's a girl there that's trying to solve this murder. It's been a long while since I've read like a good trilogy. I've been reading a lot of standalone books, so I thought October would be the perfect month to pick this up and just like go back to my roots of reading, which is YA trilogies. And then finally, I've actually got 2 mass market paperbacks on my TBR, which is very obscure, but that's what I have. The first one is Message in a Bottle by Nicholas Sparks. I've been talking about this book lots on my channel lately because I really wanted to pick up another Nicholas Sparks book after reading A Walk to Remember twice and loving it both times. So I do hope this book has the same effect on me. As in, I hope it makes me bawl my eyes out at the end. I don't know why you'd want to read that, but for some reason I do. And then the other one that I have is Champions of the Force by Kevin J. Anderson. This is volume 3 of the Jedi Academy trilogy. This is another book I've talked a lot about. It's been on many TBRs because I've wanted to read it and I haven't, which is nothing new. But yeah, this is the 3rd book in a trilogy. I read the first 2. It's very cheesy. It's not canon Star Wars anymore. I don't know if it ever was canon, but it does follow the version of Star Wars in which Han Solo and Princess Leia get married, and then they have twins, and then they have another baby that they call Anakin, and yeah, that's basically it. But in this one, it's all about a Jedi Academy that Luke puts together because it takes place after the Return of the Jedi, and supposedly all of the Jedi are like gone, but they still are lurking around out there, so Luke is trying to find all of them and then form a Jedi Academy to train like the new generation of Jedi. So that's essentially what this series is about, and I would like to just be able to conclude it because even though it's not that great, it's highly entertaining. So those are all of the books on my TBR for October. Leave me a comment down below and let me know if you've read any of these books and which ones you think I should prioritize this month. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!
You hear that, Samson?